word problems that we want to turn into equations and be able to solve. This, for some of you, is difficult because you guys can all solve an equation. That's not the hard part. The equation is fine. It's the word problem that's an issue, okay? So hopefully, after we go through this and you see some strategies that will help you, or you'll know how to set them up, it really won't be that bad, okay? All right, so the very first problem. It says Daisy's Flowers sell a rose bouquet for $39.95 plus $2.95 for every rose. A competing florist sells a similar bouquet for $26 plus $4.50 for every rose. Find the number of roses that would make both florist bouquets cost the same price. Well, if both are going to cost the same price, they have to be equal, right? So we know we're going to have an equation because we have an equal sign. So you'd put an equal sign in the middle. Okay, the two florists need to be equal. So let's start with Daisy's Flowers. How much do they charge? Just $39.95? For every rose. So let's let X equal the number of roses. So how would you represent, if you're going to buy X roses, how would you figure out how much that's going to cost you? Ellie. So would that be your total cost? Okay. So you have to pay the $39.95 no matter what, plus the $2.95 per rose, so that's $2.95X. We want to know when Daisy Flowers is going to equal the other competitor. How much would you pay at the competing florist? Reckon.
$26 plus $4.50.
There's our equation. Once we have the equation set up, well, now we can solve it. Okay, and we can solve for X. We want to figure out, find the number of roses that would make each of them the same. So if we solve for X, we know the number of roses. So I draw a line by the equal sign. Right now I have X on both sides. Which one should I get rid of? 4. Okay, so we're going to minus 2.95 X from each side. And that gives me $39.95 equals 26 plus 450 minus 295 is 1.55x. Agreed so far? Now we have to get rid of the extra, right? We have a variable and its best friend. We've got to get rid of like the third wheel. How do I get rid of the 26? Minus 26 from both sides. $39.95 minus 26 is $13.95 equals 1.55x. And to finish, we divide by 1.55. These cancel. X equals what? 9. So what's the answer to this problem? 9 what?
Roses.
9 roses. If you were to buy 9 roses from each place, it wouldn't matter which one you bought from. They would cost the same amount. Okay? So 9 roses is when they would be equal. Questions there? That wasn't so hard, was it? Okay. Let's look at this one. Okay, Marla's gift basket. Sell a muffin basket for $22 plus $2.25 for every balloon. A competing service sells a similar muffin basket for $16 plus $3 for every balloon. Find the number of balloons that would make both gift basket companies cost the same price. It's essentially the same thing, right? This is essentially the same problem as the last one, except for the last one dealt with roses, a bouquet and roses. This deals with muffins and a balloon. What's our variable going to be? X. What does X represent?
Number of
Okay. X equals balloons. What's the equation going to be? Raise your hand if you think you've got it. Sydney.
22 plus 2.25x equals 16 plus 3x.
22 plus 2.25x equals 16 plus 3x. Go ahead and solve it. Okay, so hopefully, if you solve this correctly, you got 8 balloons. I've subtracted the 2.25x from both sides, had 22 equals 16 plus 0.75x. Subtract the 16, you get 6 equals 0.75x. Divide by 0.75, you get 8. Questions there? Okay, let's start the next one before lunch and we'll see how far we get. Jamie spends the same amount of money each morning. So every morning, he goes out and he spends money. On Sunday, he bought a newspaper for $1.25 and also bought 2 donuts. On Monday, he bought a newspaper for 50 cents and bought 5 donuts. Okay, we don't know how much money he spent on Sunday or Monday, do we? But we know he spent the same amount of money each day. Okay, on Tuesday, he spent the same amount of money and bought just donuts. How many donuts did he buy on Tuesday? Okay, so we know that on Sunday, he bought a newspaper and donuts. How would you figure out how much money he spent on Sunday? Tyler. Say that again. No. Okay. Sydney.
4.25
Plus just X, but he bought 2 donuts.
2x.
So we don't know how much he spent on the donuts, but we spent 2X. So what does X represent?
Number.
Not donuts.
No.
The money per donut. Would you agree with that? Because we don't know how much money he spent, but we know that he bought 2 donuts. Okay? On Monday, he spent the same exact amount of money. But what did he spend it on? How many donuts? 5 and
50-cent newspaper.
a 50-cent newspaper. So 50 cents for the newspaper plus 5 donuts. 5 donuts times the amount of money. Okay, let's solve this. Okay, if I subtract 2x from both sides, we have $1.25 equals 50 cents plus 3x minus the 50 cents. That's 75 cents equals 3x. Divide by 3. What does x equal? 25 cents. What does this mean? That is 25 cents per donut. Okay, we're not done with the problem yet. We'll finish the problem when we get back from lunch.
Oh, then you have to, I know.
Just, yep.
That's it.
So let's finish up this problem. We did not, by solving this, we didn't answer the question. All we found out is that it's 25 cents per donut. The question is how many donuts did he buy on Tuesday? We don't know that yet. Okay? Knowing that he spends 25 cents per donut, can we figure out how much he spends each day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We could take this first one and say he spent $1.25 plus the 2 donuts at 50 cents a piece, so you're multiplying there. That's $1 on, right, no, 25 cents a donut. That's 50 cents on donuts plus $1.25, so that means each day he spends $1.75. So how does that help me figure out how many donuts he bought on Tuesday, Ellie? Yeah. So how many donuts did he buy on Tuesday then? 7. 25 cents for each donut. How many times do you need 25 cents to get to $1.75? He bought 7 donuts on Tuesday. Okay, so that would answer the question. I think sometimes that's the hardest part of word problems, is really making sure you answer the actual question, because I know that on homework, had some of you got to here, you would have put that as your answer, 25 cents, and been done.
Yep.
But you didn't truly answer the question. So make sure whatever your answer is truly the answer to the question. Okay? All right, flip the page. Some of the word problems become much less wordy. Okay, how old am I if 500 reduced by 2 times my age is 392? Okay, so this really becomes 500 reduced by means what? Subtracted. When you reduce something, you subtract. So 500 reduced by 2 times my age.
2x.
Do we know my age yet? No, so 2x is 392. Okay, there's my equation. X represents equals the age. So if I solve this equation, I'll know how old I am. I'm not really this old. This isn't really about me. What should I do first to solve this? Subtract 500. This minus sign is attached to the 2, right? So this is a positive 500. We have to put minus 500 on both sides. Negative 2x equals 392 minus 500 is negative 108. And divide by negative 2. X equals 54. So the age is 54 years old.
That's ridiculous.
Easy enough? That's not me. I will next week Friday I will be 42. So that's way older than me.
That's how old Tom Brady will be when he actually retires.
Maybe. Maybe. You might be onto something there.
Wait, how old is he already? Like 44 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Who's
Tom Brady. He said that's how old Tom Brady will be when he actually retires.
He'll be like 97.
Okay,
He'll be able to lick me.
next one.
135.
Okay, Daniel bought 8 boxes. Okay, a week. Please listen. He bought 8 boxes. A week later, half of all his boxes were lost during a move. Now, there are now only 22 boxes left. How many did he start with? Okay, so he had some boxes to start with, right? And then he bought 8. And then he lost half of them. So, what do you think the equation should look like? Give me somebody throw a guess out there of what the equation should look like. If X represents, X equals the boxes he started with. What do you think, Abby?
Maybe in parentheses do x plus 8 and divided by 2 equals
Another way to write that is just x plus 8 over 2 equals 22. Rewrite that. X plus 8 over 2.
Okay, so he had some boxes, he bought 8 more. So you add 8 on to whatever he had, agreed? Then a week later, he lost half of them. So divide by 2. There are now 22 left. Okay, so this becomes a 2-step equation that we have to solve. Draw a line by the equal sign. Circle the variable and its best friend. How do we get rid of the divide by 2? Times each side by 2.
So x plus 8 equals 44.
Minus 8 from each side.
X equals 36 boxes.
So he started with 36 boxes. Okay, and would that make sense? If he started with 36 boxes and he bought 8 more,
44.
he'd be at 44 and he lost half of them, he'd be at 22, which is exactly what the problem says. Questions there? Okay, last one. Sumali's Bikes rents bikes for $10 plus $6 per hour. Catherine paid $22 to rent a bike. For how many hours did she rent the bike? What should the equation look like? How much would she have to pay? To rent the bike, what do you have to pay? Brecken. $10. Anything else?
Plus $6 now.
So $10 plus
6 per hour.
6x. What does x represent?
The number of hours.
X equals the number of hours you're gonna rent the bike.
2 hours.
How much did she pay total?
22.
22. So there's my equation. You have to write an equation first. Okay, I know sometimes you'd be like, yeah, I'll figure it out in my head. I know how many hours, but you have to write an equation first and then solve it. Okay, so minus 10 from each side.
6x equals 12. Divide by 6. X equals 2 hours.
Okay, so she rented the bike for 2 hours.
No.
Questions there? Okay. Hang on, let me